do we have here? We've got Herbie. And Herbie's about to get a complete front end swap, which is funny because we just did that on that car. But we're going to slip Herbie right into this area that I just cleared off here. It was covered in mud and dirt, and I think the ducks keep doing that. Come up on the patio and they just spit dirt out. They like to drink the water whenever I clean off around the area. When I run the hose, it dribbles a little bit, and they scoop mud, and then they drink the... Yeah, anyway. Let's start the video. Come on, Herbie. Get your ass over here, buddy. Yeah. Here goes the ruse, too. It's going to be a great video, guys. Stick around. Well, it looks like Herbie did a little friggin' burnout. Got stuck on a dirt berm there. But there he is. 1953. No, not a 1953. He's supposed to be a 1963. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Probably because I'm looking at the number on the side of the car. Anyway, he is actually a 66. So, he's lying a little bit as to who he is, because he's not an original 63, but this is what the guy wanted. He's since put these stock-looking rims on there, which I think look fantastic. Also, he went with a more stock-looking tire size. Earlier, when this thing was here, it had MP 8-spoke alloy mags on it with tiny little skinny tires on the front and big fat ones in the back, and it was lowered just so tremendously much. Anyway, I brought it up to height for him. He's been happy with it, but the front beam on this thing keeps breaking. It's an aftermarket beam that somebody put on there before he owned it, and he's been having nothing but issues with the shock towers breaking off of it. And the thing is, I weld them back on, and the shock tower breaks again. Metal is too thin. So we're going to be replacing that beam and putting a brand new one on there, which also brings the wheels out to stock width, because this beam has been narrowed. We're getting rid of all that crap. So I think we're going to be a lot happier in the long run. CIP1 is actually sponsoring this video today, so thanks to CIP1 for all the wonderful parts that they've sent to us for all the years over. All the parts on this car will be coming, again, from CIP1. So, check them out, guys, CIP1.com, and I'm very thankful for them, for Gregory the Bus, who lives there in the tent after he got hit with a hurricane a few years ago. It really made a mess out of him, so we'll be doing some more of that, but CIP1 is the big sponsor of Gregory the Bus, so we'll be seeing more of that in the future. Anyways, yep, there we are. Likey, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to pluck that dingle bell so you get updates every time that I upload a video. Check out duckshit.net for all of my different social media links. And we'll be back right after that intro. Alright, in the trunk here is our gas tank. And the gas tank's going to have to come up and out because there's two bolts up underneath it. They get to the axle beam up front. I need to remove them, and when I looked at the gauge, the gas tank was full. Not excited about that. I didn't think to tell him before he brought it, don't fill the tank. Well, he did. And I mean, it's completely full, like he filled it up on the way over here. So that's going to be a bit of an issue. That tank is going to be heavy. It's going to weigh about as much as me. Yuck. Maybe the gauge isn't working right, because that is nowhere near full. Looks like it's about halfway. Well, that makes it a lot easier, doesn't it, guys? Okay. But there's the bolts we got to take out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I just lift the tank up and out of the way. Alright, this tank is heavy. It's not a full tank, but there's still a lot of gas in there. Got it up and out of the way now. Block of wood. And the bolts we need to remove is that one and this one. That's what holds in the axle beam and attaches it directly to the body, there and there. Also, while we're under here, we'll get to this later, but need to remove that master cylinder, put a dual circuit master cylinder in place. Also need to pop off some tie rods. And the steering coupler, we have a replacement for it, but this one is actually in good shape. So I think what we're going to do is put his replacement steering coupler in his glove box. This one is actually in really, really good shape. So we're going to leave that one alone. And it's not a red one, thankfully. That master cylinder reservoir is a single circuit, so there's a single line going into it. So we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do with that. Maybe tee it off if he wants to keep that one there. Or I have to add another reservoir, probably go directly onto the master cylinder itself. And I have one around here somewhere. But otherwise, for now, what we're gonna do is pull out the bolts. And once the bolts are out, the beam is supposed to pull it right off the front. Alright, here we go. Oh! Thought that was the right size socket. I guess not. Uh-oh. Lost everything. Yeah, I thought those were 17s. I suppose they're not. Alright, I better reevaluate my life. Oh. Now the reason why we're changing out the brakes here on the front is because these studs are actually pulling out of the drum. These drums are just soft. I mean, I could probably take a bite out of one of them if I wanted to. And looking at the threads on this, you could see where it pulls the threads right out. This stud appears fine. I could run a chaser over there and just get out all the crud, but that is all that cast iron that's all loaded up into threads in there. So, yeah, these drums are just garbage. Now, in the past, just a month ago, Wild Bill actually changed out the drum on this right-hand side rear because the splines in it on the axle stripped out. So if they were made by the same company that made those, I assure you they're absolute trash. So that's the reason why we're upgrading to discs on the front. That's just dangerous. And every one of these studs, I should say, they weren't even tight. And they told me they tightened them before they drove the car over here, but they were loose. I mean, really loose. You saw my little impact remove them without any extra help. So, yeah, they weren't tight at all. Anyway, that's the deal on that. I'll clean these out. These can be reused. I see nothing wrong with the studs otherwise, though. Those are actually in pretty good shape. So we'll just stick them right in there for safekeeping until we're done with the rest. Forgot the bolts had to come out of the steering coupler anyway because we have to detach the steering shaft from the steering box. Well, there it is. I did put a mark on it so I know where to line it up with later. That way we get it right. That way the steering wheel's not in upside down. Okay, let's see. What else we got under here? I think next it's going to be removing the tie rods. There's a bolt here on the end, 2 bolts on the inside, and there's one way down the other end on the other spindle. So we'll get those 2. I also have to take out the speedometer cable. I'm going to do that right now, actually. Yeah, let's get that out of there. This is going to get in our way for sure. Here we go. Push that in there. And going in. That's interesting. There it is. Alright. There's our cable. Out of the way. I also got to get them brake lines off. Because if I pull the beam out and the brake lines are still attached, it's going to start stretching and pulling things and, well, potentially making a mess. Alright. And before I detach the brake cables, or brake lines I should say, I need to step on the brake pedal. And I have a way of doing that with just a 4x4 like that. As long as the pedal is being depressed, it'll stop the fluid from coming out the ends. So, I guess we'll remove those next. Alright, we're gonna get this one first. Let's see, I'll adjust the exposure a little better so you guys can see better. There you go. And let's see. Set this up to remove. And these will probably come apart pretty easily because I just put them together not that long ago. Oh shit. Well, that was easy. It separated and everything all by itself. I didn't even have to get a ball joint popper on there. So it's already out. Good. Let's do the same thing on the other side and let's hope it's just as easy. Alright, cross your fingers. Let's hope this side is as easy as the other. Oops. Nope, didn't come up. Alright, let's try one more thing. Put this nut back on here. Like that. And this spindle is all soft mounted on shocks, but sometimes, and I hope I don't hit the brake line in the process, get that out the way if I can. And it might take more than one hand. Let's see. I'll set you up right here. Can you see well enough? Probably not. How about now? Alright, let's see what happens. Nope, that one's gonna need a puller. This puller is the one I usually use on these. Should get the job done, I would think. There we go. Just like that. And yes, the nut is still on there. That helps to stop the tool from sliding off. Okay, then I need to set this up. There we go. And that needs to be driven in. And then it should go ka-toing. There it is. And it's out. That nut is now stuck. That was pretty dramatic. They don't usually come and fly apart like that, but sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. The worst one that I had ever done was actually on Eleanor, or Triple E. I keep saying Eleanor because we don't say that anymore. Has nothing to do with the bullshit lawsuit, but there we go. But it actually went kapow like a gunshot, and it was so loud it left my ears ringing and my hands were vibrating because I was touching it when it happened. But yeah, that let go. Okay, looks like the shock tower on this side is all twisted up too. Wow, I know the one on the other side kept breaking, but this one's all bent to hell. Good God. Wow. All right. Well, I'm glad we're getting rid of this thing. What a piece of crap. Okay, I've begun to remove the brake lines. You can see that they are disconnected right here, all three of them. I need to pull off the brake switch wiring, these guys here. Already got the reservoir out too, and I let it drip through the little hole down there because my oil pan is underneath. So it caught, sorry about that, it caught all of the fluid that dripped out of it. Then the brake lines, the hard where they join the hard and soft over here in the end, there's little clips that go in here like that. Vice grips, I've seen people struggle with this, but vice grips is always the best way to do it. If you have trouble, snap the vice grips on and then tap the vice grips gently with a hammer and they come right out. Okay, at this point, we are ready to remove the line. There we go. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Pull this one through. There we go. Alright, now we got the 4 bolts on the front of the beam. When those are out, this entire beam should fall to the ground. Alright, up under here is the 4 bolts I spoke of before. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's what holds in the front beam. You can see the adjusters on the front here because this was a narrowed adjustable beam, which wasn't doing anybody any good. In fact, I'm looking at it. It even looks like the beam is bent up on both ends. Yeah, I think it is. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but I think it is. I'll put a straight edge on it when we got it out because I'm a little curious, but yeah, it definitely doesn't look like it's straight. But these are 19 millimeters. Sometimes they don't come out very easily. And you want to loosen 3 of them and leave the 4th one in and loosen it slowly until the beam is ready to be dropped down. And I got a piece of wood underneath here so that way when it does fall down it doesn't crack the pavement and it doesn't scratch up the parts. Not that I think we're keeping anything. I think trailing arms and tie rods is about all we're keeping from here, and spindles. But anyway, these are the bolts and they gotta come out. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Alright, I've got those 3 bolts out. There they are. 4th one is loose and getting ready to come out. Because once this comes out, at this point there's nothing else holding it in anymore. Now look at that. The only thing that's holding it in is rust and a dream. Alright. If I yank on this, it probably will just pull right out. There it goes. I was right. Didn't expect it to get snagged, but anyway. That tie rod was supposed to lift up and over. But we're okay. Let's come ahead and get up on the top side and get the thing pulled out the rest of the way. We're going to install that axle beam there. I'm taking a little bit of a break. I just had a drink. I needed it. Just found a friend of mine was admitted to the hospital. Heart condition. He's significantly younger than I am, and he's having issues already. And if that's not terrifying to you, I don't know what is. He's one of my best friends, too. And well, we'll get into it later if he wants me to talk about it. But for now, the boys are out, so you might be hearing a little noise. Yep. Yeah, so sorry about that. Anyway, we're going to stuff that beam in as is, and then piece by piece we're going to chunk it together. I think that'll be easiest for me. I don't have to stress trying to lift the big heavy beam into place, because when they're apart like that, it's not too bad to handle. Really, it's not. Right, Biddy? I see you, buddy. You be a good boy, okay? He's about to scream. Here it comes. Here it comes. Go ahead, scream. Do it. Do it on camera for everybody to see. He changed his mind. He was starting to puff up, and he didn't do it. Alright, well, we're going to get under here. He's probably going to attack me while I'm under here, too. Alright, just kind of lifted it into place. No, I didn't get it on video because I had one of the birds trying to attack my groin at the same time as I was under here. So I just quick shoved it in there. You know what? Even though it doesn't have everything in it, it didn't seem any lighter to me for some reason. Either I've become a wuss in the last few weeks, or maybe I just was lifting it from a peculiar angle or something. I don't know. But here we are. Got those 4 bolts in place. Alright. Go on here, and we can start snugging these up. You guys don't need to watch me doing this, because I'll be under here for about 5 minutes just turning bolts. We'll be back in a couple minutes. And there he is, trying to attack my groin while I'm trying to shove the axle beam in. I think I'm just going to take a break from trying to record that, because that's not going to be a good idea. I'm just going to get my ass kicked, because I'm not wearing long pants. He's just going to shred me. Go away, buddy. Be a good boy. Alright, we've got them 4 bolts in there. Beam is solidly mounted. I think I'm going to take a break the rest of the day. I only got attacked once while I was under here. I guess that's enough. It'll be dark in a couple hours anyway, and I'm starting to hear booming on the horizon. So we're probably just going to get rained on anyway, so I think it's just time for me to just knock off. Come back and hit this again tomorrow in the morning. But beam is in there, that's good. I gotta slip the torsion leaves in the ends, put some grease in there, start putting the arms back on, spindles back on, and then the brake that's attached to that all comes off. Get that out of the way, and I don't think we're putting these shocks back on either. We're gonna use some new shocks. Okay, yeah, there it is. Stopping point. Yep. See you guys tomorrow. Right, Biddy? Right, Biddy? Huh? Come on, come get me. Now you don't want to mess with me, huh? I didn't have the camera running before. And I was under here trying to work on a car, and what'd you do? Attack me. Why'd you do that? Because you're a jerk. When I was under here in the past, Boomer used to just hump me. Can't you just love, make love and not war? I think you're doing something wrong. Alright, buddy. I'm gonna go for now. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Well, folks, we're back. It's actually 2 days later. I got postponed a bit by rain, which you can imagine what that would do to me because it happens to me all the time. And the second thing was I was working late at night on this thing to make up for the lost time due to the rain, which, well, isn't really recordable because it's too damn dark. But as you know, we got the beam in there, and I went ahead and stuck the trailing arms in, and I got the spring torsion those things, the torsion leaves in there. Got them installed, and I put the tie rods on. I mean, stuff that you guys have seen me do before. It's really not, like a big surprise or nothing, but that's all in there. I haven't gotten to the brakes of the master cylinder yet. We're going to do that. See, the spindle's ready to go. Got to wipe the stub off. Got a little dirt on there, so we'll grease it up, or re-grease it up, I should say. And then I have to work on the alignment on this and a few other little things. But we're going to start putting the brakes together. And these brakes, this isn't the usual Karmann Ghia brakes that you typically find on a Volkswagen. It's Karmann Ghia brakes, if you didn't know. Those are actually well, I shouldn't even say that. Actually, it was Type 3 is what started the original disc brakes. Later, it appeared on Karmann Ghia. Super Beetles did get them. I don't think standard Beetles ever did. But Karmann Ghia parts did fit directly onto standard Beetles, and they were the same parts as also on a Type 3. Until Type 3 changed it, which I believe was in 72, was it? Anyway, the last 2 years of the Type 3, they actually had different calipers on the front and different spindles. They changed all that stuff. For whatever reason, Volkswagen's infinite wisdom, and they're really, really hard to find parts for. Somebody told me they're the same as 914. I don't know. But anyway, I digress. I'm way off topic here. These are the brakes that are going onto this car. And these are not what I expected, because when we ordered the kit, we expected something simple, but this is what CIP once sent us, and this is just a gorgeous, gorgeous brake kit. There's the caliper that we got, which is a really low-profile caliper, so you should be able to fit small diameter wheels on there. This is the bracket. Talk about heavy duty. I mean, it would be nice for it to be in aluminum, but this is steel, and this is heavy. Probably cast iron, but nonetheless, it's all machined down, and yeah, it's heavy. This, of course, goes on there just like that. Here's a combination of the two brake pads you typically find. This is what you find in a Karmann Ghia brake set. This is what's going on here. That's a hell of a difference. We got a lot more surface area, probably more than twice the surface area on there. So this is what we're going to install. And inside here, this hat box, this is what it looks like to me, is our brake disc. So let's go ahead and bust this open here and see what it looks like. If I can get it open. Trying to find the end of the tape. There it is. Okay, we're going to do this multiple times, it appears. There we go. Alright, I like this box. It's like putting a cake or something. You know what, maybe that's what I use it for, although probably it has dangerous chemicals that cause birth defects only in the state of California. There it is. Looks like we're not putting cake in there. It's got a hole in it. Oh well. Just get that going on a fire. Into the fire pit she goes. Get it in there later. But there's our brake disc. And this looks very nicely machined. Very nicely machined. It has a good feel to it even. You can tell how they cut the grooves on it all evenly. But I have to knock the bearings into there. You guys have seen me do that before. Here's the link down below in the video description as to how to install the bearings. So I'm going to clean these bores out and get the bearings put in. The bearings are actually right there. I knocked them out of the old drum. The old drums, by the way, remember we were mentioning that the studs were pulling out. You can see that one's completely stripped. These three look okay, and those are actually okay for the time being, but two of them are shot. And this metal is so soft, like I had said to some of my friends, including Slade. I was talking to him earlier today. And I said I can chew the metal on these brake drums that they're so soft. And some of the folks on his forums on his Facebook group page are saying the same thing about the discs that come from MP. Now these are MP discs too, but these just look better than some of the other ones. So I believe I trust in these. Plus there's a lot more threading because they're so much thicker. I mean, you get twice the amount of thread, so it can certainly give it a lot more grip to it. Even if it's a softer metal, it won't matter so much because you can put the bolts in a whole lot deeper. More meat to grab. But this one, previous owner of Herbie, and the current owner of Herbie is not very happy with the previous owner, but you can see he put some time certs or some heliarcs or something into these helicoils. Heliarc is welding. Helicoils into these threads here. And then the other three, stripped, and that one's borderline. So these are shot. I mean, sure, I could probably run a bunch of heliarcs in there. I said it again. Helicoils in there, some kind of time certs or something, and fix these things. And I may stick them on a shelf somewhere and maybe do something with this in the future. I don't know. Probably not, but who knows. Maybe I'll just drill in between and make new holes. We'll see. I don't really care about brake drums in the front. I'm not a drums person. I don't like brake drums. What the hell? Two chickens were humping. They're girls. The small one was on the big one's back. Okay, well, that's news. She crows in the morning, too. She's probably just being dominant, because I know she's a she, because that particular breed is sex-linked to color. And the farmer I got him from actually did pick her out for me, because she's a girl and she had the female's color. I could have been lied to. What the hell do I know? But anyway, that's enough of this. Let's get started on this thing and knock these bearings in there, and we'll see if we can get these things mounted up here.
We got
we'll show you
clean
how to do it. My greasy stub. The grease on there actually is only a month old. It's amazing how fast it turns black. There we go. Alright, here's our caliper bracket. And look at this monster. This thing is just a beast. It's heavy. Probably weighs about 3 or 4 pounds. I mean, it's really heavy. And I think it's gonna... And I wish I had an instruction manual to it. Unfortunately, this wasn't bundled with one, but I think it goes on like this. Because I think if you tried to put it on the other way, it would be in the way of the disc, because the disc would hit it. So this is probably right. And we got our bolts here. In here just like that. This is a really heavy-duty bracket. Alright, because we're not going to be going back in here again after everything's said and done, hopefully we don't have to take it apart again, we're going to torque this down now. And I got a little criticism in the last video. You didn't torque down stuff. I said I'd come back to it, and I did. I did eventually. I wasn't done putting things together, despite showing it on video that way. That's already tight. Yeah, it looks like they were already tight. Good. 18 foot-pounds, by the way. I've seen instruction manuals call from anywhere from 14 to 22. The last book I opened up said 18. So, that's the way it's going to be. Alright. If I get this right now, the rotor should go on. And I think we're going this way, because there's a little notch in that washer that's going on here. It has to line up with the spindle. There it is. Yummy. Whenever you work on greasy stuff like this, just keep a rag nearby. You can actually keep your hands really clean by just constantly wiping off whenever you get that stuff on you. Alright, here's our nut. Again, it's got the old grease on it. Well, that wasn't too bad. It was still kind of red. This is going to go on here. And this side is standard thread. The driver's side, however, is a reverse thread. And the trick to these is you tighten them up as tight as you can, finger tight, while spinning this. Because that will help to settle the bearings. You'll be able to turn it more. Tight as you can get it, just like that. And then back it off 1/12 of a turn. And that's your prescribed bearing tension, bearing lash, bearing, what would you call that? I don't know. Comment down below. Lash sounds good, like valve lash. It gives you that little bit of play in the bearings. If you have none, the bearings are going to get hot, and then they swell, or expand, if you will, and they'll either eat the races or the bearings up, or they will seize themselves, depending upon how tight you actually got it. Now on the end here is a pinch nut. I need to tighten that down, and I don't think I brought the right tool over here with me. No, of course I didn't. So I'll be right back. This guy, it has a torque spec too, but the answer is just don't overdo it. I've never seen one of them come loose, ever. Alright, clean up our bearing cap. And I gotta go grab the grease bucket. Oh, I'm full of shit, because the grease was right in front of me the whole while. It's right here. I just did not see it. Alright. Put all this in here, just in case there's any water intrusion. That will help to prevent it from corroding. I need to grab a block of wood and a hammer and gently bork that on. There it is. Okay. Now I'm going to move the camera around the other side so you guys can see what's going on over here. I attempted a dry fit on these earlier, and I noticed, oh, pardon me, I had some water, that there's a notch here. Oh my. A notch that's missing from each of these pads, in a pair anyway. And when I was trying to put them together, I noticed that I couldn't put this one in the back here because the notch wasn't there. So the notched one appears to go in from the rear. Yep, that looks right. And then the unnotched one from the front side. Again, I wish I had a manual on these. I might be able to find a manual online, but I don't have it here. And this is our caliper. Appears to be a nice anodized gold. Has the bolts already built into it. It's not one of those ones that you can unbolt one of the bolts and swing it down. The whole thing still has to be removed in order to get the pads out. So that's just the way that works. And I should have done this with the tie rod off. This wheel should be turning more this way. I'm probably going to have to futz with the alignment some more, I'm sure. But this will go in here just like this. Again, I dry fitted on the bench earlier, so I kind of figured out how this goes. And it kind of locks itself in. There's a rail on the top and the bottom. That's what the brake shoes are currently sitting on, and it does not appear to be going in now. And I don't know why. I do have the bleeder on the top, so it's assumed that I do have the right side. Because again, air bubbles rise, is why you want the bleeder on the top. But why is this not working? Huh, okay. If all else fails, take it the hell off and try again. And the bolts fell out. That ain't helping things. Oh, dirt all over things. Alright, we're going to try this again. Just make sure them bolts are all the way out. Might be what we were getting caught on. It's still not going in right. Alright, well, let's take the brake pad out and see what it does. Oh, okay. Maybe it doesn't seat in the rail top and bottom. Maybe it just catches on the top. It's interesting. Yeah, it's just going to catch on the lip up there. Okay. That's the way it works. Oh boy, I can't finger tighten the bolts, so I'm going to have to put a tool in there. That sucks. Let me show you why. They're smooth on the outside. These are like crackhead screws, and you can't get a grip on them, especially with greasy fingers. So I'm going to have to use an Allen key and turn it. Alright, no big deal. Oh, fuck you. I got it. There it is. Just needed a little coaxing. Uh-oh. Duckman, you're using an impact!
Duckman, did you know you could strip a bolt with an impact? Ah!
You know what an impact will do? It's not quite tight yet, but that's where it's going to go. Alright, I'm going to get the camera out of the way because I need to be on the side of the cameras to get in there to be able to tighten these things up the way they should be. So I'm going to switch sides with you. Alright, I haven't torqued it down yet, although I haven't found a torque spec for it. I would say this is not stock parts, so it's not going to be a stock torque setting, but it might be a good place to start. But we'll have a look at that in a minute. Nonetheless, this caliper seems like loose to me, but no, this is a floating caliper. It actually slides on this rail on the top here, and it slides over the top of those crackhead screws, which actually, the entire length of the bolt is a shoulder. So this entire thing actually skeeches forwards and back. Now the first time I step on the brakes, it will cause the piston to push out, and then this will fit much tighter. In fact, it's going to retract this section here into the rail much further in there than it is currently, because there's a lot of play in these brake pads right now. So this will definitely eat up the slack. Okay, well, we are in a good spot. Woo, clearances are close, really close. But it doesn't look like, no, it doesn't look like a long bolt or anything would actually come through and hit the caliper. That's good. Well, they might, I suppose. But it's going to take a really long bolt for that to happen. The old studs that were in the old drums, well, that were pulling out of the old drums think I showed them earlier in the video. They were not in rough shape, but rather they had chunks of the old soft metal from the drums still in them. So I'm going to clean them out, and we're going to wind them back in here, and a little Loctite on them, and they should be good to go. So we'll take care of that in just a minute, and we'll be back. And here comes Dusty. Come here, Dusty. I spooked her when I turned the camera at her, but she's running right towards me, and she's hot. You can tell. See her mouth hanging open? She's panting like a puppy. And I'm sweating all over myself, too. All right, well, here we go. Wind them studs in, and then start setting some alignment on here, and let's get that brake bled and the whole works. Matter of fact, I got my brake line here. I haven't installed that yet either. These lines are kind of new along with the rest of the brakes, and there's nothing wrong with these, so we're going to reuse them. And hopefully this hard line is long enough to reach the master cylinder, because the outputs on those are going to be slightly different than they were before, but we'll cover that in just a couple minutes. Okay, this is nice. This metal is twice as thick as the old drums in the past, so when these studs are stripping it out, had they have had twice as much thread to go into, even if the material is just as soft as those drums, it's half as likely to pull out. So these things are wound in as far as they go, and I don't know if you can see the back side of them. You probably can't, but they're flush with the back side, even though they're in there. So we shouldn't have any problems with the studs hitting the rotor, even though the rotor is actually going to be pulling away from it anyway. As those pads wear, it's going to get further and further. But it spins freely. The only rubbing you hear is the brake pads, as they're supposed to be. See? That's it. They work. Hey, one more time. Oh, ho, ho, ho. All right, well, we're good on this side. I'm going to hook up the brake line on the other side, because what you didn't see is while I took this brake, I actually put the other side all together. And the only thing that was different was the speedometer cable comes out the middle of it. You guys saw me do that in the video for that car last week, so there's no reason for me to cover that yet again. So anyways, I'm going to work on the master cylinder, hooking up those brake lines, and let's get these brakes bled out. I also need to do a little bit of rust remediation under here before this gets too bad. The owner of this said, could you address that for me before it gets problematic? Because you see, it's actually starting to look like it's not in a good spot. And that's where the tire used to rub from the narrowed front end. Because, well, when you pull the wheels in closer, that's what they do. So, and I'm hearing thunder. And it's right about time in the forecast for it to start raining. So, we'll see if we make it. Right now, the sky doesn't look too bad above us. I can't see directly up, but, yeah, I can still see the sun coming through. Alright, well anyways, let's stay on it. I want to try to beat the rain today. Alright, I think we're about done over here, so let's get to that master cylinder before it starts raining on us. There's the single circuit. That's got to come out. See all the brake lines all around it. You also see the wiring that's over there. I need to pull that out. It should be two 13 millimeters. They are in front of the brake pedal. Oh, and it's all covered up. I'm going to have to peel down some carpeting and stuff, which I really didn't want to because this is really nice. But it's going to have to come down. Alright, I'm going to pull it out. We'll get to the bolts. Alright, I managed to get to it without tearing all the carpet up. The hole that's in there, where the push rod pushes through, I just spread the hole open like I was some kind of a gyno. And with my tools, I managed to get the bolts out. Now, as you know, don't remove the bolts, just loosen them. Because if you remove the bolts, the spacers that are inside the bulkhead will fall down inside the bulkhead, and then you're fucked. The master cylinder here should pull away. There it is. And I got to get that switch out of it. So that's going to go in the new one. That's what we got. Alright, our master cylinder is in! And the first brake line is attached here, which is a rear brake line, because that's the only one that reaches, and that's what held the master cylinder in place while I ran the bolts in. Yep, I'm a one-man operation, and that's how you do it. Now this line that's going to the right-hand front wheel, which is your left hand looking at it, I don't know that that's going to reach to there. I mean, I suppose I could try making this a little flatter and bending the line a little tighter. It might reach, I don't know, it might. I probably should take the line out and adjust it without the rubber line attached to it on the other end. But I'm going to have to take a pause for the cause because the wind just started picking up, and it just started to get really dark to the north. Even though it was the cell to the south that looked like it was going to get us, that just vanished. And now we got a new one. And I just felt a raindrop already, so I think we're going to wrap it up just for the moment. And whenever it passes, we'll get back out here and finish hooking up these lines. Alright, well, that's life.
The following day.
Alright, we're back, guys. The owner's coming for this thing shortly. And that means I had to hurry to get this thing done last night after it was finished raining. And, boy, what a hurry it was this morning trying to put things together. I bled out the master cylinder after all the lines are hooked up, which, by the way, the lines were fine as far as lengths of them was concerned. I just had to rebend them and got them formed. Then I hooked up the brake light wiring, which is good too, and started to bleed the brakes. When I got to this wheel, no fluid came out of it at all. None. Absolutely zero. I tried to vacuum it, still nothing. And when I got a good look at the lines, this is where things get real interesting, and I hope they're right here. Yes, they are. This line was blown up like a balloon. Just, it was all swelled up. And this is the line from the other side. So this morning, I went to the auto parts place, and thankfully they carried them locally. So I picked 2 of them up. When I remove this one, you can see that the skin on it is just all swollen and peeling. And it feels like an old lady's finger. You know how they're frail, thin skin? When you shake their hand or touch their hand, you can just feel the skin coming off. That's what this feels like. This line on the other side, however, this one's in better shape, but it's hard as a rock. So this one's probably due to be replaced anyway, so I replaced them in a pair. Then I bled out the brakes, and they bled just fine. I'm about to re-grease the front axle beam here. Before the owner gets here, we'll see how far I can get on that, and hopefully I'll get that finished, and this car will be ready for a drive right about the time that he arrives here. Otherwise, we got to start putting things back in the trunk, like his spare tire. So let's get this, put that back up here where it belongs. Although I am a fool, because now that I'm putting that in there, what's going to happen is I got to take it back out, right? Let's take his brake fluid here and find a place to set it up right. There we go. That's the best spot. I don't like them being upside down, even with the cap tight. Who the hell knows? Cap might come loose, something comes loose, and then your paint's missing. That's just the way it goes. There's a trunk liner also that goes in here. I stuck it in here just to keep it dry last night, because didn't want it to get wet and fall apart. They're only made from cardboard. This one already looks like it's warped a little bit, so I'm going to have to put some weight on it, flatten it down. Actually, you know what? Maybe it's not warped. Maybe that's just the way it is. Okay. Well, it's going to go in there just like that. Ow! Damn it. That might have just cut me. Thanks, Herbie. Appreciate that. Alright. I think that was all that belonged to him in the trunk. I did already put the jack back in there. I don't think he had anything else. Yeah, I think that's it. Alright. Well, I'm going to jack this thing up and grease that axle beam, and then we're going to go out for a test drive in this thing. Well, that went over well. The owner came on by to pick up his car, and I was still greasing up the front end under there, and his family made him leave. So he left the car. He's going to be out of town for about a week, which means, well, I got to babysit Herbie. Oh, such a bad thing to deal with, isn't it? I think he and I are going to have a good time together. Anyway, I greased up the front end. The grease zerks was a good story. Those are the ones that are on that beam. The beam did not come with them. Fresh grease up on that one still. I got to finish wiping that down. But it didn't come with them, so I said, well, let's get them off his old beam. The old beam has none. Just none. None at all. I don't know how this... Yeah, how the hell are you supposed to grease that? I guess you don't. Or maybe you grease it during assembly, and I guess that's good enough, but those are urethane bushings. They're going to grind themselves down to nothing if the grease dries out. But anyway, this beam, which came out of that car, still had grease zerks on it. So I removed them, only to find that the threads were wrong on this beam. So they didn't thread in. So I had to tap out each one of the holes and then run the zerks in there, and then of course I greased up the front end. So it took a little longer than anticipated. It didn't help that that brake line was shot over here, because that cost most of my morning, having to rebleed all the brakes and replace lines. But Herbie's good to go. And it's about to rain again. That's just life. That's the way it goes around here. So I don't even think I'm going to get a test drive on this thing today, so we're just going to have to save that for another video. So, I guess that's going to be it for now. Likey, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to pluck that dingle belly so you get updates every time I upload a video. Check out Doug Shit down there for all my different social media links. And we'll be back with another video, hopefully. Got a small engine video coming up soon. Doodle Bastard needs its battery replaced. some electrical work, and hopefully we'll have that thing going down the street shortly. And I guess that's going to be some fun. Otherwise, we've got another video coming up on the Green Beetle also. That should be out of here next week. I talked to the owner. He's out of town right now, too. Everybody's out of town. They leave the cars when they're out of town. So I need to give this thing a good clean up. I need to tighten up some bolts on it and just wrap up a little bit of this and that, and it should be good to go. What the hell was that? Somebody must be pulling the drain plug out of their compressor. Anyway, yeah, we're good. Duck, duck. There's Duck, duck. Dusty Duck, duck. Good Duck, duck. And there's Stormy and Shadow, who ate the ass out of their potato salad. There's some right there. Apparently Cheekies didn't like it, but they ate it. It's gone. There was a big blob of it in there, and it's completely gone. But that's Shadow. That's Stormy. Getting real big. And the ducks. There's Floppy. Hey, Floppy. You need to go back in the pool. You got some dirt around your eye. Plus, you look a little hot. And where's Flip? Well, there's one of the Cheekies. I don't see Flip, though. Where's Flip? Anybody seen Flip? Thought I saw Flip out here a little while ago. I hope he's not lost. Huh. Oh, there he is. He's right there. You can see the beautiful blue hologram on him. He's starting to turn gray, and he's starting to get green around his beak and the top of his head, so he's going to look like a mallard. And no, he's not a mallard. I can't legally keep a mallard due to the Federal Migratory Bird Act, so he can't be kept. But he's not a mallard. He's bred from a mallard, but he's not a mallard. He's actually a breed called a rowan, which is a French breed. They get real big, much bigger than a mallard, and they can't fly like mallards. Would you come over here? I'm trying to get you on video. Well, I guess it'll be it for now. So thanks, you guys, for watching. We'll see you next time. There's the Cheekies. There they are. Good girl. There's my girl. Cheeky. She discovered root beer the other night. Root beer float. Yes, she did. You want a root beer float? Once she got a taste of that, she would not leave me alone. She was in my lap the rest of the evening. Alright, you guys. See you next time. No, it still hasn't rained yet. I don't know why. But there's the booming if you can hear it. It was faint, but it was there. Now we're going to let Herbie down. I don't think we're going to get a test drive today. We might. We'll see. We'll see. It'll end up in this video or it'll end up in another video. Probably going to be another video. We'll see how that turns out. Thanks again for watching. Well, do I look like I need your stinking weatherman? No, I don't. It's raining out here. Oh boy. And there was Flip playing in the mud. It's the first time I ever seen him do that. Good boy. Alright, well, time to retreat. Stay out of this crap. Look at you. Why are you inside? You want to stay dry too? Good boy. Okay, bye.